Well, this is a little bit of a different video. Obviously, I'm not in the den, for instance. Now, there's a big reason for this video. Now, for the longest time, I've been trying to do a video about basically why I got into gaming, why gaming is such a pivotal thing in my life, and how it's forever changing in my life. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly when, or how, or what, when it happened, I don't know. But what I can tell you is the reasons for it. Because it's a weird story. And the person that's kind of like got me to do this video, as it were, or even think about it. I've been thinking about doing it for a while. So much so, I've got the script thing here for what I was going to write. This is pen and paper script for the video I was originally going to write, and I just never got around to it. Work, life, kids, yeah, that. But someone brought it up, or brought it to the forefront of my mind recently. Just have a drink. Ooh, cup of tea. Typical British guy. I like coffee better than tea, just, you know, that's the only things available in my kitchen at the moment. But no, he has basically brought it to the surface a little bit and given me a reason to do it. And I kind of figured out in my head that I didn't need a script to do it. I don't need a script for this video. It just doesn't need one. It comes across as fake, it comes across as crap, it comes across as just, in general, terrible. So, this, right now, isn't worth crap to me. So, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to open up to you guys on this video and tell you what the scenario is. Now, there's a channel that I've been following for years, Pompey Games Room. And the gentleman that owns that channel, Sean, he brought up a good video. Basically, gaming and mental health, and gaming memories, essentially. Now, it's basically just him talking to the camera. He's out and about with his dogs and whatever else. I'll tag the channel below. I'll tag the video below, whichever I can find at the time. But we're going to go there. We're going to go down that road of my personal gaming history, because he said at the end of that video that it's intrigued to see basically where people came from, what their memories are, because he's been doing podcasts with friends and things like that. Now, I won't give you too much detail on his video. Go and watch his, please, because it's fairly insightful. But his memories are pretty personal. So personal, in fact, that I really don't want to touch upon it, because that's his domain. Out of respect, that is his. So, with that said, it's quite a sad story, and like I say, I'll let him tell you about it, because that's his story and his personal memory. Now, as for me, mentally gaming has helped me, but I'll get round to a few of the things that kind of I didn't expect in that journey. Now, my gaming, as it were, started with essentially an old Atari that was hidden under the stairs of a house we moved into. A 2600. I think it was 2600? 2600? I think it was 2600. I don't know. Something like that. It had cartridges. Little psycho then, didn't I? But yeah, we found this with about 10 cartridges, and I slotted them all in. I had a bit of a do. There were Pong in there. They were nothing great, I'll be honest. There wasn't anything hidden gem or anything like that, as Metal Jesus would say. You know, hidden gem. There was nothing like that. It was all common crap, essentially. And my dad saw that I got into that. My dad liked that idea. It was something for this little, you know, 4-year-old to do, you know what I mean? It was there. Now, this might be the twist and turn of the story, because right after that, my dad bought me a NES. Now, I had a half-brother who, for lack of a better term, was very much into gaming, but he was so much into gaming that he didn't want to go out and get a job. It wasn't first on his priorities. He wanted to stay home do that all day. That's what he wanted to do. And obviously, being at the time, I think I was 7 or 8, maybe 9, I didn't know all about this. I wasn't clued up on jobs. I wasn't clued up on, earning money. Why would I be? I was a kid. But my brother at the time was round about 19, 20. And where everyone has positive memories, this is kind of a bad memory for me, because I kind of don't really want to talk about it, but it's something that needs to be said. It's something I need to admit to myself, because I held him in such high regard back then that I kind of refused to understand why he did it. Now, when I was round about 9 or 10, my dad took my console off me, and now I know the reason for that, because of my half-brother. He was too heavy into his gaming. He took my console away from me so I wouldn't end up like that. That was basically his frame of mind. He was an old-fashioned bloke. Something didn't work, it went. Simple as. Now, obviously he didn't do that out of remorse. He didn't do it out of selfishness. He did it to kind of protect me in his way. And that was crazy to me, because he just told me it broke one day and then that was it. He told me he tripped over it or something, I think. Now, here comes the weird part of the story. When I was 10 years old, from what I understand, my half-brother basically had killed himself. He'd hung himself, basically. That's what had happened. Generally, I wouldn't laugh, but the weird scenario in this is I don't remember it. I have a lot of issues back when I was a kid. A lot of issues that I took years to try and get over, to try and jump over. And I couldn't get through it without help. Now, the thing is, when he killed himself, like I said, he hung himself. He was in his flat, that were it, done. And the scenario that came after this was the fact that he was my best friend. He was the one that helped me get through Turtles on the NES. That in water level. That's what he got past that for me, and I was forever grateful. But I have good memories with him, but along with those memories come just tragic ones, and that's not really what I wanted to bring up in the video, but it comes with the territory of the story, and I'm so sorry about that. But it's an interesting fact of what to know. Now, the thing that kind of set in about that is the fact that after that scenario, my parents took me to see what they described as my brother. I thought we were going to his house. It wasn't. I didn't go to his funeral. I didn't do anything. I was too young for that. I was about, 10, 11, and they took me to see my brother. Obviously, not at his house, because he died. It was a cross in the ground. That's basically what I remember. A lot of these things I blocked out as a kid. I just blocked it out. Didn't even contemplate it. The only reason I know this happened is because my dad told me. I approached him years later about it, and because he didn't tell me, it was a case of why didn't he tell me? It was a case of, well, you were 10 or 11 year old. How do you tell an 11-year-old that his best friend has just died? And as much as I didn't like his choice back then, I understand the concept of what he was thinking and why he did it. I understand that. It's not easy, especially when someone like me, who was mentally a little bit on the edge, was always, prominent with that. It's not the best memory, I'm going to admit. And I'll always have that memory of him helping me through certain games, and that's awesome. But my gaming story doesn't end there. I carried on gaming kind of behind my dad's back. My dad would not let me have a console after that, just so you know. It was pretty much exiled from our house. That was it. But I carried on gaming through friends, family. I've got fond memories of playing Crash Bandicoot kart racing on PS1 with my friend who I still know to this day, Danny Seddon, playing it on his. Tony Hawk, he used to smash me all the time on that. I was crap at it. Yeah, it was that bad. He had a Mega Drive. We'd played Sonic. It's how I actually got into Sonic, ironically enough. I've been friends with him since I was about, what, maybe 6, 7, possibly. But yeah, most of my good memories come from that. Now, moving a little bit forward, my parents, or my step-parent and my dad, ended up moving to Cyprus. I didn't go with them. I stayed here in the UK. Sunny UK. Why? But I moved in with my mum, and I purchased my very first console with my own money. It was only a second-hand console, but it was mine. And that was a Sega Dreamcast, which is where I hold my Dreamcast memories very, very close. I love that console to bits. I still own one to this day, and I will never, ever get rid of it. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I started collecting when I met my wife, ironically enough, a few years after I met my wife. And I started collecting all manner of consoles, controllers, games and such. Now, this part of the story is important, but not as important where I am now. So I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit. Now, all those years were kind of fluid, essentially. They came and went like a river. That was it. Every year I picked something up. Every year it would go in the collection. And every year I didn't get around to playing it. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because from there, I kind of have mixed feelings. Now, I don't know if you guys have followed me for ages. If you haven't, please follow me. I do reviews and things like that. I try and do what I can. This is more of a personal thing, so don't take this as my main content. I try to be funny. It doesn't work. It's all in here. You know, I'm no comedian. But no, the whole idea, like last year, we'll carry on with the story. Like last year, my life took a slightly detrimental turn to my mental health and things like that. I've struggled with mental health for years. I'll not go too much into it, because if I do, we'll be here all night. It's currently 10 o'clock at night. Let's not go further. But the thing is, last year came the shock of my life. I was basically diagnosed with testicular cancer. That was basically how that came. It was only around the area, so they took it, they got it out, and that's good. I had chemo, and that came and went. However, obviously the emotional damage of that, knowing that that's happened, and obviously going through the operation to have it removed and things like that, that was... I'm a very emotional bloke, and I've only been like that over the last 10 years maybe, but that was a turning point in my life. That was something which really, really kind of set my mind of where I want to go, what I want to do. And here's the thing, that was also a pivotal moment in my gaming life. Now, I don't know if you guys ever look at your collections and go, I don't need that, I don't need that, that's a waste of space, that takes up that. Well, for me, I have a very small space for my collection. And all this time I've been collecting these games, and that space is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So much so, at the beginning of this year, in January, I kind of had my mindset on things have got to change. You've got to find another way to embrace the collecting side of things, but also still be in love with the games that you're playing. And that's something which I now hold in my own regard, and I love that. But here's the thing, how would one do that? How would one go about trying to retro game without retro consoles? And there are a lot of ways to do it. Obviously, emulation is probably the biggest one. Not something I'm really into, you know, messing around with settings and all that. I'm not entirely, you know, up to date with that. I don't want to mess. I just want to disc in, done. Now, there was one other way. Now, all the games that I play, or all the games that I hold regard, are very much digital. They've come out in collections. Mega Man, for instance. Every single one of those pretty much has come out on a collection. Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2. Mega Man X, Legacy Collection 1 and 2. Mega Man 11, digital. ZX, the DS games and advanced games, they came out digital on every platform. I was like, okay. Even PC games. PC games are coming to consoles, and it just hit home. I don't need all these consoles in order to play these retro games. In some cases, it's probably the better option, but it's not detrimental to what I want to do. What was going to save space? What was going to make my setup look prettier? What was going to make it look nice and clean and, you know, look streamlined? And the biggest answer was selling a lot of my collection. Selling a big chunk of it. And when I say a big chunk of it, I mean most of it. I've kept certain consoles. I've kept certain games. My Sonic games. Sonic is one of the biggest things in my life. Always will be. I'm a big kid. I love Sonic the Hedgehog. Always will. That passion comes from being a kid, and I can't leave that behind. So much so, when April 1st comes this year, I'm going to watch Sonic 2. I don't care. It's done. It's end of. I'm going. But all the certain things that I wanted to keep, I've kind of looked at and gone, you know what, I can get that elsewhere. And you would think that I would sit there and go, what have I done? But you know what? It's not happened. I've sat there and gone, I'm more than happy with what I can download. Obviously, Game Pass is probably a big side of that, but Game Pass gives me a chance to play games that I wouldn't normally play and think, should I buy it and download it? Why not? And the best thing about it is they're usually going dirt cheap as well through Game Pass. Even Nintendo, and this is what boggles the mind, Nintendo. You go into CEX, look at Nintendo software, Switch, N64, GameCube, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. They are charging stupid amounts for even games based on movies. I don't get it. Obviously, those aren't games I'm going to buy. But go on the Nintendo eShop. I looked up Final Fantasy 7 and 8 physically. You were looking at about 30, I think from £25 up to about 30. That's minimum. And then go on the eShop. Right now they are on offer for I think $7.99 and $8.99. A hell of a lot cheaper. Final Fantasy 9 is actually a lot less than those two. And that's the one I've downloaded. Star Ocean First Departure R, for instance. That one. That's dirt cheap at the moment. So, I found a way to play some of my favourite games. Some of the games I haven't even played that I had in my collection. I'm able to try out and then buy if I want them. And it was an epiphany. It was like just something exploded in my head. I don't need everything. I just want to go into gaming. I want to love the games I love. I want to be passionate about those games. I want to do content about those games. I don't need to kind of keep up with everybody and whatever else. I can do what I want to do without messing with physical media all the time. Like, I've still got physical media, don't get me wrong. I've not gone completely off the rails, but there are some stuff that I just thought, no, it's too expensive elsewhere. Even pre-owned and whatever else by collectors, way too expensive. So yeah, that's currently where I stand in gaming, and this video's gone for 20 minutes. I'm sorry if I've just wasted your time. But no, it is literally where I stand in gaming. I've found a way to not clutter myself up with all of that. I can log into a console and just get on with it. So yeah, that's where I stand in gaming. I hope that this has kind of inspired anybody to talk about their gaming history, good or bad. Mine isn't particularly happy, I'm not going to lie. But talking about it helps. And here's where the mental health comes in. A lot of these issues tend to, if you have bad memories gaming and you hold them back, they're going to eat you. They're going to get under your skin. You're going to notice what is going on in your head, and you're going to overthink them. Don't do that to yourself. If you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. Even if it's a stranger on YouTube or whatever else, or even find an inspirational video of somebody that's been through a similar issue. Because talking helps. I know it sounds cliche, and I know that people are going to sit there, oh, talking doesn't help, it doesn't do this. It probably doesn't, but at the end of the day, if you don't reach out, nobody can try and comfort you. Nobody knows what's going on in your head unless you say so. And it took me so long. For so long, I was in a job that I hated. And I got out of there and went to another job because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be used and disrespected. I couldn't. So that's what I did. And that was after talking to somebody. Somebody's suggestion to me. And same with gaming. If you're stuck with a collection that you know you're probably never going to play or get to, don't hold on to it. Sell it elsewhere. Just look up online, see how much it's worth if you have to, but try and get some money for it. Buy some games online, Game Pass, Xbox, and whatever else. And then you'll be done. So yeah, that's where I stand in gaming, and I sincerely hope that you guys are well, healthy, mentally, physically, and I hope that this video and Pompey Games Room video, Sean, has helped you out. I really do, because this is a response to him, and I loved hearing his story, honestly, because it just shows not everything is positive, but it can be a positive note to kind of move forward. So, there you go. I'm glad that if you've made it through this 22-minute video, happy it is. In the meantime, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Got a couple coming up, so see you in a bit. Happy gaming.